Cash shops, loot boxes, or microtransactions have been implemented for a while now in gaming. Practically every game you play in the modern day, especially multiplayer games, will have some form of this in their game. You infamously have Call of Duty's very expensive bundles. The reason you see them in multiplayer games is because they tend to be more popular, but also because you can show them off to your friends or people you play against, encouraging them to spend the money to get that skin you have. Cash shops make an outrageous amount of money for these companies, but a major difference that you see in some of these games is some of them are free to play, with battle passes. Others you have to pay for the game and continually play, and then there is a cash shop on top of that. And I don't know if you feel like myself, but I'm getting to the point where I'm just fatigued from the monetization model. I do want to give a massive shout out to all my patrons. Thank you so much. If you'd like to become a patron, check out the link below in the description. And you can always come watch me play live on twitch.tv/brahwegotthis. We are not going to be live at the end of this December month or the beginning of January because I'm on holiday, but I will be back with a new schedule. So stay tuned for that. And you can join our Discord and check out our website at brahwegotthis.com. All that is in the description below. Hey, if you're new to the channel, my name is Adam and I do guides here for the Elder Scrolls Online, mainly for new players. Today in this video, I want to take a deep dive into the cash shops, but specifically the notion of cash shops in MMORPGs. I want to discuss whether or not I believe if cash shops are actually killing the MMO genre faster and faster, or if they are something that actually help keep the game afloat. Like I said in the intro, cash shops are driving forces of monetization in a lot of the mainstream games you see today. Call of Duty started implementing microtransactions with Black Ops 2, and I remember when a skin was like $2. Now, some of those weapon skins are like $8 to $10, with some bundles being around $24. Well, do you know when Black Ops 2 came out? It came out on November 12th, 2012. Now, do you know what else debuted that year? RuneScape's Squeal of Fortune, according to the RuneScape wiki fandom. What is the Squeal of Fortune? This was RuneScape's first form of microtransactions where you spend a wheel and you got different prizes for that wheel in game. You then could buy more spins later on, and RuneScape later that year introduced a general store that sold microtransactions for rune coins. Again, thank you RuneScape fandom wiki for the memory jog, because I remember this in the game, but I just didn't remember when it actually happened. Now, I know there may have been microtransactions in other games before this, but this was the first encounter I had personally with microtransactions that I can remember, and one of the biggest ones that I can remember. I was around 20 years old at that point, and I remember people on RuneScape forums saying MTX or microtransactions will be bad, and I really didn't pay much attention to it. I thought that these wouldn't hurt anyone if they're just cosmetic. Fast forward 9 years later, and I'm sitting here making this video, and I'm fatigued and tired of all the best mounts being sold in the Crown store or behind loot boxes in ESO. It's crazy how in 9 years it can go from, I really don't care to this, to wow, these really are annoying to have in the game. And this is taking enjoyment away from potential parts of the game that these could be in. The point that I want to make is companies for the most part started implementing these systems around the same time because they saw the success of them. They saw an opportunity to prey on people's addictions and lack of self-control to make more and more money once a game was released. The massive problem besides the exploiting of people is the notion that MMORPGs weren't designed to have cash shops or MTX. The reason players played MMOs back in the day, like WoW and RuneScape, is that when you sank that time in the game or grinded hours with your friend, you had that rare chance to get that drop or get that mount or that skin that barely anyone had. In RuneScape, it was even a boss or a skilling pet. That way, when you show up in a hub of people, players are like, oh my gosh, he has that mount or that armor or that skin or that pet. And that feeling held meaning, value, and made you feel excited. It made you want to keep playing the game. Now in MMOs, you're seeing more and more microtransactions that have the best looking cosmetics as paid content. This defeats the purpose of playing MMOs in my opinion. You want to look cool in MMOs, you want to show things off, but if someone can buy it or gamble for it, where is the work or the prestige involved in that? When you take that fundamental gameplay mechanic out of the game and give a quicker alternative, then as a game, you are in a predicament. If your game doesn't deliver on other ways for players to have fun and feel rewarded, then you have just created the cash shop as the only way to feel rewarded or satisfied, or even skip parts of the game. This will in turn drive up spending fatigue, in my opinion, and push a lot of players away. Thankfully, in ESO, there is enough ways to earn cosmetics in the game. However, it is still frustrating that there are only 3 earnable mounts in the actual game, which are of worth noting, which is infuriating. Also, another thing that ESO lacks is almost 99% of the drops in the game that are cosmetic can be sold on guild traders, so it devalues when you actually get that drop. Now, I love the motif system and the skins and the personalities you can get in ESO. I think they're fantastic. I'm not complaining about those. I just would love to see drops in games like ESO, how they are in RuneScape, where you could get a rare drop that no one has and you cannot sell it. RuneScape, however, like I said, has those skilling or boss pets that cannot be bought, which allows there to be some sort of prestige in having that, that drop. But earlier I was mentioning briefly that hyper monetizing a game can start taking priority over the gameplay for a company. And when you start prioritizing monetization over maybe like in-game ways to earn cosmetic looks or other cool things like that, you could start to lose players' interest. And this actually happened to me with RuneScape and Call of Duty. And when I say RuneScape, I mean the original RuneScape, not old school RuneScape now. I know Call of Duty isn't an MMO, but it still is the same principle. I didn't actually stop playing the original RuneScape due to the MTX. I stopped because they implemented a system called EOC that changed the entirety of the game. They made it to where playing the game essentially just wasn't the same way as I liked playing the game before. And so when I would actually earn cosmetics through the game, I didn't want to play the actual gameplay anymore. Call of Duty has changed their prestige system. Why? I couldn't tell you, but I don't play Call of Duty as long or as much anymore because that was the driving force of my grind for cosmetic looks. But instead, they have a seasonal prestige now. The MTXs have been taking over these games that they have so much weight on the creator of the game because the creator of the game or the developer of the game finds little aspects to change because they find that through data or analytics that those features are actually holding potential retention back or even potential money-making opportunities back. It's a slow process, but it has happened in a lot of games. I think you see this slow trickle effect of gameplay just deteriorating as the more monetization is put into a game. And for me, that has driven me away from some of my favorite games. Obviously, old school RuneScape is back now, and I've been playing that, obviously, but Call of Duty is a prime example of this. I feel like monetization is at the forefront of everything they do in that game, that they don't even think about the actual gameplay. That's the problem that you pose when you prioritize monetization over that. So why are MMOs doing this then? Why would they want to devalue a system that they've had in their games for so long, or grinding or traditional ways of playing MMOs? Well, the number one reason is money, obviously. They want to make more money and they want to try to keep up. I think anyone with a brain could figure that out. MMOs are a big endeavor. Like they're not easy. When you look at something like Fortnite and Warzone, you can look at the financial statements of those games and see a massive difference in revenue than ESO. It helps that those games are free, but players are buying battle passes and cosmetics in those games as well. But those are mainstream gaming genres right now. Battle Royales are mainstream. MMOs used to be mainstream in the early 2000s. This leads me to my next point of why MMO companies are doing this. Because they need to get people hooked quicker than normal. In today's society, the attention span of a person is so small that if you don't get them hooked on something very quickly, they will just move on to another thing. In the early 2000s, when MMOs were very popular, gaming wasn't as mainstream as it is today. You have so many different types of people trying and playing games now that maybe didn't even try to play games back then, but you also have a lot of companies that are making games right now. So there's a ton of competition. This is why you see Battle Royale succeed, because the entry level is free, almost anyone can play it, games are quick, rewards are instant. It is a perfect formula for today's information age. MMOs take actual time to play, something that a lot of people don't have in today's world. This leads to the next reason. These companies prioritize the short-term gain over the longevity of the product. If you haven't looked around lately, this world moves at about 1,000 miles per hour each day. If you aren't careful, you can get in a process of being so go, go, go every moment of the day. Since gaming is mainstream and there are constant games coming out every week it seems, all of these companies are vying for you to play their game and not another one. These games are being psychologically designed to keep you on the game as long as they can. It's just like social media. So what way can they do this? They need you to feel rewarded quicker. They need to make it not as grindy, or they need to give you a solution to bypass the grind. They need to give you cool looking items for a few bucks so you can look cool at first. I mean, look at Valhalla, the Assassin's Creed game. Again, not an MMO. They have a cash shop in a single player game. Like, what the heck? They sell convenience items to help the game less grindy, but the game is single player. They want to get as much money as they can in a short amount of time. It is essentially a massive business. When MMOs do this though, it is detrimental because MMOs are meant to be played for years, not 7 months. So making a game that has the longevity in mind is key in my opinion. Another huge thing that has MMO games doing this is they sell things for a limited amount of time to create fear of missing out. You see, this is in all gaming, and a lot of times games do this at the same time. That is to get you to pick the hard choice of like, wow, what am I going to play today? What am I going to spend my money on today? And it's tough. Sometimes players end up spending a lot of money in multiple games because they don't want to miss out. With saying all of this though, do I think cash shops are killing MMOs? Well, financially, no, I don't think they are. They are sadly keeping the MMO genre afloat. Think about what MMOs have to compete with again. Warzone, Fortnite, Apex, League of Legends, all of these games that are free to play. The reason cash shops have more damning effects in MMOs is because, like I said, MMOs didn't originally have them. So longtime MMO players, really for the most part, don't like them in general, or they've gotten to the point where they just put up with them. But when MMOs didn't have cash shops, gaming wasn't as popular or mainstream. Battle Royales and MOBAs didn't even really exist then as well. When you started to see these free-to-play games like League of Legends pop up with skins that were earnable and bought, you started to see these MMO games use more monetization because they were losing players. So MMOs are surviving due to the cash shops, but the core quality and gameplay is dying to cash shops and MMOs. Now, I'm not saying that people aren't going to play MMOs in 10 years. I'm not saying that ESO is a bad game. ESO is a fantastic game. It has other great qualities. But I think this is a slow trickle effect. I still think you're going to see players play MMOs 10 years from now. But unless something fundamentally changes with gaming or people's attention spans, you're going to see wallet or financial fatigue, or you're going to see dedicated players drop off in these MMO communities because the quality of the product is declining. You're going to see this as well in other games, not just MMOs. I think the quality of product in gaming has declined, but I would love MMOs to make a resurgence. They are one of my favorite types of games. I'm hoping games like Ashes of Creation, being a fresh thing, will bring something new to the genre, but thankfully, like I said, ESO still has great systems in the game that are fun for me. My fear is that if we fast forward 5 years, that same effect that I had with the Squeal of Fortune would happen again, where monetization is just slowly getting worse and worse and worse. So is there a solution to this problem in MMOs? I don't really know, because again, the problem is multifaceted. You aren't just talking about finances here. You're bringing in all sorts of outside things. People's retention, people's attention spans, increased competitive markets where there are game studios making games all the time now. So when that happens, it's hyper competitive. You have to stand out. You have to find a competitive edge. I seriously think gaming will look drastically different in 5 to 10 years. But could MMO companies, instead of just having the best stuff in cash shops, could they put equal things in the game again? Would this be a solution? We can take a look at ESO. In general, a lot of ESO's cosmetics are earnable. The earnable motifs, skins, and personalities look really good. But where a lot of people wish there was a difference is the lack of earnable mounts. Like I said before, all mounts except a few are in the crown store. If ESO were to add the same type of mounts in this game, like look at this mount right here, this red mount. This mount is beautiful. If this was earnable, would they lose money? Would this bring a solution? I think naturally they would possibly lose money because there are earnable ones now in the game. But I theorize that I don't think it actually would have as massive an impact on revenue as people think. In this day and age, people are still going to buy stuff. They're going to buy loads of crown crates. They're going to buy mounts because someone may see, oh, that mount is in the store, but it's also in the game as a very, very rare drop. I don't have time to grind for that mount, so I'm going to buy it. There are people that don't have as much time today to play these games because they have, 9-to-5 jobs. They have families. They will pay for convenience. But it's hard to actually quantify, would this affect the bottom line so much that ESO wouldn't do it? I'm not sure if you can find any sort of public data involved or research projects involved with what economic impact does cash shops or microtransactions have on gaming. But if someone has one, please post it in the comment section, because essentially it's very difficult to tell how much a company actually makes from just microtransactions. And because they don't really release it, it seems like. Looking at ESO's revenue though, or ZeniMax Online Studios, I should say, at growjo.com, it was alleged that their estimated annual revenue every year is $112.8 million, and they have 550 employees. So if you break that down, I think that came out to be around 200 something thousand per employee. Obviously, not every employee is making $208,000 a year. But what it doesn't actually show is it doesn't show how much profit they made. And obviously, you have so many factors that go into your profit. You have to pay your employees. You have to put money back into the business. You have to pay for the game, the servers. There's a lot of factors that we really don't know how much profit they make. But with adding in-game drops, that number might drop, and we just don't know. We don't know how significant that number would be. And so I would love to see if I can find some sort of data on this, but I have not been able to. But we probably won't ever know. So to wrap up this video, let's try and look at the other perspective. And so I understand that gaming companies and devs have to make money to pay for the game, to pay for their employees, because the bottom line is these employees have to get paid somehow, and they're making a living. They have to get their benefits if they have them, and the game has to keep functioning, right? So on one hand, I understand that this is a business, and if they don't make money, then MMOs won't continue to grow, and it may end up dying or declining. But where is that balance though? Can you find a happy medium with the game? I really think you can. If you look at a game that isn't even an MMO, but does a fantastic job with its in-game reward system and has created generational reputation, is the Monster Hunter series. Monster Hunter World is the first one I played, and from seeing Reddit and other vets of the game tell me this, or tell the community this, the content in that game was actually light compared to the other entries. But Monster Hunter's cosmetics were so freaking beautiful. It was part of the lifeblood of the game and how the game worked, because you needed to grind and go hunt creatures and then make their weapons or armor. And the reward and satisfaction of that was so high. I was addicted to that game. I was grinding that game in 2018, 2019. I loved it. This is how I used to feel in MMOs like RuneScape. Monster Hunter, for the most part, has stayed true to its process. Obviously, they have some cosmetics in a shop, but they don't even look good in my opinion. The sad reality of this is I don't know if we'll ever go back to those days where MMOs weren't so monetized. I think now that we have opened that box and gaming is such a competitive industry, I just don't see how MMOs will stay competitive with the current trends. If any of you have any solutions or thoughts, I would love to hear them down in the comment section. But I truly think cash shops are hurting the MMO genre because I just don't feel like they belong in the MMO genre. And I think it's hurting gaming in general, but that's a whole other video. And eventually, it's not going to be a worthwhile experience without having to spend money around every corner, which I feel like is the trend that we're heading as a gaming community when it comes to certain games. This video is not meant to be negative. If you know me, I'm a very positive person, and I like MMOs. I like ESO, I like RuneScape, I even liked WoW. and I liked Final Fantasy. But I'm really fearing for the future of MMOs because of this aggressive monetization that we see. And I'm honestly fearing a lot for gaming because it seems like we're just going down this really hardcore business trend with gaming, and I don't know if that is going to last. So again, if you'd like to see more of these videos, leave me a like, leave me a comment, subscribe, heavy attack that bell icon to stay up to date on all the content in the channel. But I do appreciate all of you being here. I do appreciate my patrons, my members, and everyone watching. Thank you so much. And remember, have faith, be great. And I'll see you on an MMO or ESO or some other game. Later.